Hi, friends. Chris McDonald with you on the Tuesday edition of the Chris McDonald podcast. That's right. It is the 12th of March. I can't believe it already. It's just insane that we've gotten this far into the year so far. It is Players Championship week. Thus, we're here in the golf room today doing our little interviews. I'd like to introduce you to Brian and Nicole Darling. No, they are not any kin to the Darlings that were on the Andy Griffith show, so nobody is going to be singing Slimy River Bottom anytime soon. But it is great to have them. They are a great couple. They have been here in the community for over a couple of years and doing a lot of great things with remodeling, refurbishing many of the older homes here in town. And I wanted to get them on and talk about their current projects and projects that they've done and just give you guys an idea of just the amazing things that are happening as we're beginning to work together here in the community to revitalize the town. Mayor John Hutchinson was going to join us, but he has some commitment with his kids, and so he does send his greetings and whatnot, and so he wants to just say hello, and he will be joining us again very soon. So, without any further ado, hello, darlings.
Hello.
Hello.
Guys, you came to the community a few years ago and started something that is I mean, I don't have adjectives for it, just how amazing that it is. And tell us a little bit about, what led you here and just, kind of how it all got started. And how did how did you pick Richmond County? Did you throw a dart at a map? What did you do?
So it's really kind of a crazy story, but our daughter was going to App State and she decided to transfer down to Richmond County to continue education for nursing degree. And that was the spot that she ended up at.
She bought a house at 19.
Her and her husband, or at the time it was boyfriend, I guess, they purchased a house there in Rockingham. And then they had a little baby and grandma said, we got to be close to the baby. So we moved from Davidson County. I worked in Montgomery County at the time for CenturyLink telephone. And we moved from Davidson County down to Rockingham to Ellerby so that we could be closer to Helen, our daughter, and Ty, and then the baby Sutton, so that we could help out and assist and do things and enjoy the new baby.
Okay. However, we didn't stop there. We did move away. We originally from Florida. Brian and I went to high school in Florida together. And my mom got sick. We came back to Florida, and then we actually had done a house here and a condo, and we had sent our real estate agent a picture, a screenshot of how our condo, the day we put it up for sale, within 2 days had over almost pushing 13,000 hits.
Wow.
And because the market was just unbelievable here. And she had said, oh my goodness, I don't know why I didn't think of you and Brian, but we have this home here that you guys could redo, because we had redone homes that we lived in when we were in North Carolina. And we got on a plane, we flew up, we looked at it, flew back the next day. We had everybody, we had Doug Goins that works with us. We had our painters there, landscaping, everybody met us there that Saturday morning. And they all were on board, and we have not stopped since.
Wow.
So Karen Everett over at Caldwell Banker with Deborah Parsons, she's the one that started all this. So we'll blame her.
Okay. Well, she evidently picked the right two people. Now you guys.
No, she's stupid.
Oh, absolutely. You guys are high school sweethearts. Am I right?
Yes.
Correct.
Outstanding. That's great to know that you've lasted together that long, and which is very encouraging, especially today. What was the first house that you took on here in Richmond County?
Well,
I guess technically it'd be the one in Ellerby, but we purchased that for ourselves to live in at the time. It needed some work and updating.
And that's that's the one that had the tree hit it. That was right across the street from where
correct.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember.
Yeah. It hit the house while we owned it.
Right.
That's another kind of crazy story. But to begin with, we purchased the house. I think it used to be the parsonage for the Baptist church up the street, I think.
Yeah.
And anyway, we were doing the work ourselves, and I was working crazy hours, and I got behind. I couldn't get things done. And we spoke to our next door neighbor, Miss Donna, And we were just asking her, do you know anybody that might can help with a helping hand here and there, do a little things here, little things there? And she's the
Renovate
one that
kitchen.
actually introduced us to Doug Goins.
Mhm.
So Doug came over, worked on the house. Nicole had mentioned in that time span, we were separated because of her mother's health situation. So, and then COVID hit. So I was basically isolated in Ellerby and she was isolated down here in Florida, and it wasn't working out too good. But we had the flight stopped, you couldn't fly. So it got to the only way we could see each other was to drive. It's about a 12-hour drive from point to point. So it's something that you really can't do in a weekend. So I had actually, I'm going back to the story about the tree. I was actually coming in to see Nicole for the weekend. And that night, it was a Friday night, one of the summer storms blew in and it knocked that tree over right into the house. And didn't know Doug real well, but he had done a little bit of work for us. And I called Doug. I said, man, I'm in a bind. And he showed up at dark. It was already dark out because it was one of them storms that come right at, right as the sun was setting.
Right.
And he was out there with a flashlight and he said, yeah, I'll fix it before you come back home. And I said, before I come back home, because I was only going to be gone like 3 or 4 days. And he said, yeah, we'll get it right. So I had some cash on hand. I gave him some cash just to, get materials. And I said, I'll settle up with you when we get back. And really just his eagerness to help out and his abilities solidified our relationship from then. I mean, that was really probably the turning point for us with Doug. We become more than coworkers. We became friends. Right. And I think that was when I realized the kind of person he was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
you've been with us the entire time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that was really the first one that you did. And then from there, if I remember correctly, you went to one that was on Randolph Street, is that correct? Or did you do the airplane house in Hamlet next?
Right. We did the airplane house right there on Main Street. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. And we've actually done
we did one on Richmond Avenue
and Hamlet. We've done Randolph Street. We've done 2 on Everett Street. Right now we're on Fayetteville Road. And we have another one, but we're not going to disclose where it's at, but we're really excited about it as well.
Right.
So we've kind of like the older homes, the more historical homes and everything. Just, trying to bring back their beauty and fill them with a family who can stay there for years.
And appreciate them. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're big houses, so they're looking for big families.
Oh, absolutely. Now, last year at this time, I was able to interview you the first time, and at that point, you were working on the house of the teacherage, is what they called it. And if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it was basically kind of a boarding house for all the new teachers, all the new female teachers that came to town. Is that correct? That the way I'm understanding it? Okay.
Right.
You put in a lot of work on that, and I was just going through the pictures that I had taken for the story, but then I went back and looked now and saw what you have done with it. It's an amazing undertaking to begin with, but the final product that you came up with, I mean, it's again, I don't have enough adjectives to describe just how, without it sounding like I'm, diving into the hyperbole pool, but it's amazing just how much care and focus and work that you put into these things.
Yes.
She's the design person.
The longer we were
Doug and I are the workers.
The longer we were in that house, I almost was like, let's just pull it off the market and keep it. We fell in love with that house. We just kept putting more and more into it. And the family, we've met the family briefly that did purchase the home, and they have a beautiful story of their own, and they are so deserving of that home. We don't get to always pick and choose who buys these houses, unfortunately, because I sure would like to put some deserving families in it. But they are such a great family. They have 5 children. It was a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom home with lots of space. And it was 125 years old, and it'll stand for another 125 years plus.
Right.
And that's what we're hoping that we can do right now with the one on Fayetteville Road. So
The
yeah,
one that's on Fayetteville Road, I believe that was the old Fox house, if I remember
correct.
correct.
Yes.
And as many times as I had run by that, and in daily workouts and whatnot, and in driving by it and whatnot, I would have never thought that it was as spectacular on the inside as it was. I mean, it's this, not to use a Doctor Who reference, but I mean, it's a TARDIS. It's very much bigger on the inside. I mean, it's just amazing all the things and treasures and whatnot that you found in there. The floor is amazing.
Yes, it is.
The floors are in great shape. The plaster, the walls are all plaster, so there's some cracks and stuff that we got to tend to with that. The glass, a lot of the windows were broken. They're wooden, so we had to replace those.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's cosmetic type stuff, and then bringing some stuff up to current standards and along that line stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of potential on that house for sure. And if I'm not mistaken, John and Nicole are better with the historical side of it. I think it was originally built as the Methodist church, and they moved it to that location.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
It was built in 1879, and then in 1899 they actually moved it to its current location. So it's been sitting there since 1899, and I believe that it's been owned by the same family ever since, up to May, when the gentleman passed away that owned it. And
Glenn.
yeah, Glenn. And and now we got it and we're so happy to, have, it's almost like an honor to get this house, because everybody knows so much about this house. The longer we're in this home and meeting neighbors, and we've started, our Facebook page. I mean, the stories and the people just reaching out to us and telling us so much about the individuals and the house itself. It's just been overwhelming almost.
Yeah, it is. And it's exciting to see the community react to it. Mr. Fox, I guess, Mr. Glenn, right? Glenn Fox. He was well known and respected within the community
by everybody.
It shows, everybody's got a story about him, and everybody knows a little something about this or that or whatever. And that was one of the things about the house on Everett Street. I can't tell you how many people stopped by. And I feel like we joked that everybody in Rockingham lived on Everett Street at some time in their life, because everybody that stopped by said, "Oh, I used to live down the street here. I used to live over there. My grandma used to stay in this house," and it was fascinating that to see it kind of visualized the history, that we can hear it, because obviously we're not from there, so we don't know all the small historical. We do our due diligence to know the story of the house as best as we can. Some houses have more historical knowledge than others. Some people know the teacher's house was a popular house. A lot of people knew about that house. There's a lot of information out there. No photographs, unfortunately, but a lot of information. The Fox house seems to be another house that a lot of people are familiar with. I don't know. Have you seen
we have not seen
old
pictures of the house. However, we have been told that there was a trunk as of last May. I believe, don't quite quote me on this, but Glenn had a brother and a sister possibly that came to the house after he had passed away. And there was an old trunk, and it actually had pictures of when they used the mules and everything to move the church and everything.
Oh, wow.
And if anybody is watching this and happens to know where this trunk may be, if they happen to have any pictures, we would absolutely love just to be able to see them.
We would. Or even old photos, that maybe family photos. It doesn't even have to be from the Fox family. Anybody that might have something there. We try to keep the house to the date. You know, the
Mhm.
historical committee society does a great job of overwatching all that to make
Right.
sure everything's done back to period and things along those lines, as best as can be. You know, some of it's cost prohibitive,
Yeah, and it
but
is 145 years later
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
but we
So-
try to incorporate, if we find little things in the house that we can repurpose just because it was part of the house at one time, you know, like a photograph or something along those lines, windows, stuff like that, that we can use as a piece inside the house to keep it where it's supposed to be inside
Right.
the house. You
Right.
know, we were able to do that some with the teacherage. There was a few items. There was a lot of items in that house. This one, the Fox house, the Fox family had cleaned it all out.
They
So it
cleaned it
was,
well.
yeah, they did a good job. We haven't really, we found a few little things here and there, but a few personal things I think of Mr. Fox. And one thing too that I really enjoyed, there was a garage, an outbuilding out in the back of the property that had to be tore down. The city said it couldn't stay.
Condemned.
So we tore it down. But when you went into that store, into that building, Mr. Fox had some handwritten signs that children had drawn.
Drawn. Mhm.
Thank you. And it was really, I took some pictures of them. It was really, really fascinating. They were in pretty poor shape because of the weather and I guess the way the house was and or the building was and everything. But it still kind of touched me a little bit that he was respected in that regard too. It was from classes, you know, Mrs.
Right.
such and such's class and things.
Right.
I guess he taught music or
Yes.
something, I believe,
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the schools.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, you do amass a whole lot. I've got 2 boxes full of it in my storage building myself.
Mhm.
It's it is a labor of love, I know, for you, and it seems to me that not only are you, you know, very creative with being able to do you know, to do the things you do with, you know, not a lot of people today know how to drive a nail straight nor know what a plumb bob is. However, but it also shows you're reviving history that has been almost tossed away effectively, you know, with all the with these houses that you come to. I know that there was a great bit of cleaning and such that you had to do behind the teacherage, you know, with all the kudzu and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And certainly around all of the Fox house as well. It just it's just amazing what your guys, all of your landscapers and whatnot, can go in there and do to all this. Speak a
Mhm.
little bit about we know about what you do to the houses, but about what you do. What's the concept or ideas that you come up with about how you want the yards to look?
Well, the first thing I usually do is we have some people come in that work with us and clear it out. Because sometimes, unfortunately, you just need a clean slate.
Right.
And over on Everett Street was the same situation as it was here on Fayetteville, and that you really couldn't even see the house because it was so overgrown.
Right.
And so we thought, okay, they came in, there were some trees that were at question, you know, that Lord forbid there was a storm, it'd fall on the house. We didn't want that. We just needed to clear it. There was really not a driveway for this house, so we knew that the driveway would come from the back side of the house and not the front side at this point. And so we just told them, this is what we do, like a vision of what we would like to see the end result to be. So let's go in, let's try. If there's something we can save, then by all means, we're not about just going in, tearing it down and redoing. However, this one was so overgrown that we're like, okay, we got to go in, we got to clean it up, clear it out. And it started with, we had a big tree in the back. We actually had 2 big trees in the backyard. And we had a special crew come in and take those down, pull most of the weeds that we could just off of the house, away from the house.
The vines.
The vines, oh,
Mhm.
it's grown with vines everywhere. And then we can finish doing the house, and then once we're working more on just the inside of the house and not the outside, because this house in particular needed a new roof because there was a couple leaks. And unfortunately, my fear was, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose these wooden floors. I cannot lose these floors
Right.
because we're going to sand and stain these original hardwood floors because they're beautiful.
Right.
And so the first thing we did was put the new roof on there. We put new windows because a lot of them were broken, and it's just not feasible with the electric prices the way they are for a new family to come in there and have these old windows. And we did replace any rotted wood that may have been around the house and put new vinyl siding on it. So that will help, preserve it for years to come. And then once we start on the inside a little bit more full time, then that's when we start babying the yard and just
Right.
trying to, make it pretty and curb appealing, because you really couldn't even see the front side of that house very well, because it was just so overgrown, but
And it sits down below road grade a little
it
bit.
does.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you look at it from Fayetteville Road, you're kind of looking at it from the second floor up. You can't
Right.
really see the bottom floor too well.
Right.
Tim Ball out of Bennettsville was the
Mhm.
landscaping, the tree company that came down and cleaned that lot, and
Mhm.
fantastic job. Tried to preserve some of the stuff that was there
Mhm.
because Mr. Fox apparently had planted a lot of, or somebody in the
He-
family somewhere had
him and his
planted a
mother
lot
both.
of flowers and specialty trees and things along those lines.
Mhm.
So we had to make sure to bypass those. There was one palmetto tree in the backyard that we had to take down, and I'm happy to report that it's trying to be transplanted on Doug Owens's property. So
Oh, very good.
maybe it'll make it. We're hoping that it'll make it. So
Very
we kept it, trying to. He took it home. He said, "I'm going to try to plant it and get it going back up." And I said, "Well, let's hope so." But we had to take it down because of that building coming down and
Right.
a new driveway.
All right. Yeah, it's just fascinating around there just to look and see what it looks like now. Down the road,
Mhm.
6 months, a year, look into your crystal ball and, without revealing what you can't reveal, give us an idea about what you're looking at, thinking about for what your next steps will be here in the county.
We're always looking for historical homes.
Mhm.
We obviously, most folks that have seen the properties know that we're not looking for the ones that are ready and clean and proper. We're looking for the ones that we can pour our heart and souls and uh, sweat a little bit on, and maybe scratch our head a few times too. That we can
I think
restore.
Nicole said in the article, she said we're looking for ones that we can love, I think was what you actually said.
Yeah, that's a good
I
quote.
do.
Yeah.
I do. That's just who I am. I fall in love with these houses. I'm like, oh my goodness, whoever moves into this house, they're gonna love this house. So far, we've been doing well with
It's like
that.
children.
But
It's like all these houses are
it,
your
it,
children, kind
yes,
of.
It really does become that
yes.
way. We pour so much into them that
Uh-huh.
when we're done, she's got the idea, she's got the vision. I don't have the vision. And sometimes she'll roll up and she'll say, "Well, here's our next house." And I'm going, "Oh Lord, no, that's not the right one." But
Yeah.
I married her. I love her. And I usually say yes.
That's
Right.
how we started together in this. Is that we actually sold our house back in Davidson County, and we still had two girls that were in high school. And I'm like, no, it's going to take forever to sell here. It's a small area and everything. It sold immediately. We had 30 days to be out. We had some health things that were going on, and we were like,
Girls still had
oh
a year of school
no,
left.
girls were still at the school. I'm like, oh no, where are
Yeah.
we going to go? There was nothing to even rent. And finally, I got hold of a real estate agent, and he said, Nicole, go look at this house. It's next door to mine. You can rent it. I said, but you have to give me a long-term lease even on it, because I thought at the time I wanted to come back home to Florida as well. And Brian was at work, and I took a girlfriend of mine, and we walked in the front door, and she looked at me, she goes, oh my gosh, there's no way I would ever live. I said, oh, this house is going to be beautiful. I'm not renting this house. We're going to buy it. And she says, you've lost your mind. I said, no, I haven't. And then that night, Brian got home from work, and we seen it, we moved in it, and just poured our hearts and soul into it. And now there's another family living there. So it's just
That
what
was
we
the
do.
first one, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of love in these houses.
Right. There are multiple ones that are down Fayetteville Road, of course, with it being the
Mhm.
historical district of Rockingham. One of the areas that I would love to see something like this happen is certainly like the old mill village that's on the other side of Highway 74 over in
Mhm.
over in East Rockingham and whatnot.
Right.
That area over there is there are a lot of beautiful houses that
Mhm.
are they're shells, or they're just there. They've gone to, as we would say in the golf business, gone to seed, so to speak. Um,
Yes.
once you, I mean, there's no shortage of work that can be done here in the town for sure.
Right.
Certainly, I know that there are a couple of them even down on East Washington Street. As
Mhm.
you go past the back of your the Fox House and continue down, like
Right.
going almost out of town, almost over to Long
Yes.
Drive. Is there any thoughts of maybe, looking into some of those, or, you kind of, again, like I said, what's your vision for, say, a year or 2 years from now that you can speak on?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, we would be open to anything really. And I also know that over there, along Mill Road, that corridor down there, there is some investment going on in there.
Good.
Doing what we're doing, we sometimes have people reach out to us, or we'll get to talking to people while we're eating dinner or whatever, and we hear and learn things about what other folks are doing. And I know there's at least a couple groups that are doing some work over in that area, and they've refurbished a few houses already. So
Right.
one of them we're real good friends with. I don't want to give any information out because of that. And the other couple we just met while we were at the Fox House.
right.
It's kind of a crazy
Mhm.
story there. We found a credit card in the front yard, and Nicole used Facebook to find this individual and called them, and they showed up to retrieve their credit card. And she said, I don't know where it's at. We've been looking for this thing. And we were like, holy cow, how can you miss a credit card and not call it in,
Yeah.
And come to find out, they're also doing some renovation work
Oh, wow.
on Fayetteville Road, but they've done some over off of Mill Road as well.
Right.
So that's two that we know of for a fact that have done some work over in that area.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Mm.
fascinating, especially, I'm a closet historian. And to hear of the stories of it. I mean, there's one up here John was telling me about. It used to face the opposite way that it does now, and they picked it. And this was not, this didn't call Superior Crane to have it. This was done with mules and logs and all this
Yes.
to turn this around. It's,
Isn't that
it's
really amazing?
just the history of them. And then,
Mhm.
we only have a couple of more minutes. What's the neatest treasure, so to speak, that you found in any of these houses that, when you've gone into them? I know one thing you did, and I do want to thank you for this personally. You did have a piece that was in the house, the teacherage, and I brought it into the house, and my mother was like, where did you find that? Is there more stuff? Can I have some? I'm like, woman, we live in an apartment. It's not like we're trying to, but what's one of the neatest things that you have found that you can?
Oh, we have found all sorts of stuff. Some things good, some things we didn't want to find.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the sword was a
Oh,
neat
wow.
one. We found an old sword. We actually found the family and everything. Unfortunately, they did not get back in contact with us. We still have the sword
Oh,
though.
wow.
Mr. Hutcherson helped us run down the family that owned it,
Right.
and gave us some contacts, and we never heard anything back from them. We wanted them to
Yeah.
have the opportunity. I can't remember whose name it was engraved with their name, and I can't
The
recall it
initials,
right
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Wow, I'd love to see it. Definitely. That
Yeah.
would
So
And
yeah.
we found, I thought it was interesting. We found some World War II currency
Mhm.
from the Japanese Empire.
Oh, wow.
And when I did some research on it, apparently when they overtook countries, they would issue this currency
Mhm.
to help bring those people into the Japanese society. And somebody had collected a few pieces of it, and we found it in one of the houses.
Gracious.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, guys, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got grandkids running all around and having to
We're
corral them.
we're about to have number 9.
That's right. That's right.
Oh
Good
my
gracious.
goodness.
Well,
Yeah.
we're so happy that you joined us, and we want to thank you on behalf of Richmond County and
Oh, thank you.
that you have done for this to help us out. And, you know, there's a lot of history here people don't realize. And, you know, it's
Yeah.
people like you guys that get here that really help us and make us, you know, want to embrace our historical past and, you know, and pass that on to the future. So we do thank you a lot
Definitely.
for that. And
Oh,
thank you for joining me here on the show today. And we hope
thank
to see
you.
come. I want to come around with the camera one day and we'll look at all of these different places that you
Okay.
you can kind of give me a
Yes,
tour and whatnot.
we would love to, love to. And if anybody has those pictures of the mules moving the house and stuff, let us know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, folks, that's going to do it for today. We actually will have an extra one this week. We're going to talk to our good buddy, Jenny Marie. She's gone and moved herself from over in Southern Pines, where she was very, very well accepted with her beauty shop and styling over there. And we're going to be talking with her one day this week. So we'll have her up with us very soon. Again, we'd like to thank Brian and Nicole Darling for being with us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you later on the week. God bless. Oh, and also remember, you need to like me, comment. I'm on YouTube. On the YouTube channel is the Christopher McDonald Show podcast. Be sure you like that. Also on Facebook as well. So be sure that you do that for me. Again, take care, guys, and thank you so much.